Hi, folks. Happy Monday to you all. A special word of welcome and greeting to our parishioners from the cities of God and to all of you who are joining me today for today's reflection. I just have a really brief thought to share with you today, and then I want to just kind of go over some of the liturgical practices for Ash Wednesday and Lent that will be happening in all three parishes of our grouping. First, I've got to warn you, as you can see, I'm coming to you today from my home office, which means Will the cat is lurking around somewhere. And it's because of Will the cat that this is now take 16 in an attempt to complete today's reflection. I'm warning you of that because should Will choose to interrupt take 16, this take, we're just going to roll with it. Short of him knocking over the camera this time, if you hear funny noises in the background or if you see him jump up in the back, I apologize, but if this doesn't get done on this take, then Monday's reflection before Ash Wednesday is going to turn into Easter Sunday's reflection. So, just a fair warning. I had an experience today, and maybe you've had the same thing, where I had to run a couple of errands today before I got started with the business of today. The first was to Best Buy to make a purchase, and the second was to Sam's Club right down the street to make an exchange. And when I got out of my car at Best Buy, I noticed there was this beautiful brand new BMW white SUV, nobody in it. It was in the parking lot, and the headlights were on. And I thought to myself, well, I took note of it, but nothing really to report. You know, cars like that tend to know when to shut the lights off. So I noticed it, but I didn't really do anything or think much of it after that. Did what I needed to do at Best Buy, came back to my car, and I noticed that same BMW was in the parking lot. And the headlights were still on. And I will admit to doing that in at least two of the vehicles that I have owned, and I have come back out to dead batteries. Kind of doesn't make your day when you have to stop and get a jump or, you know, make those arrangements and have your day interrupted. So I decided I would call Best Buy and alert them to this vehicle with its headlights on, and they could probably make an announcement over their PA system, or perhaps this was an employee and they knew whose car it was, and essentially avert somebody's day being hijacked and ruined by a dead car battery. So I called Best Buy from the car, and I got their automated system. That was asking me all sorts of questions, and I, you know, with every passing moment of dealing with the automated system, I'm just thinking to myself, I just need to talk to a human being. Get me to a human being. I don't need the guy in computers. I don't need the guy in car radios. I just need any living, breathing person that works at Best Buy. And so I finally got to kind of the general questions option on their menu, and they put me on hold. Now, from Best Buy to Sam's Club isn't even half a mile. It's maybe a 3-minute drive. And I was anxious to get on with my day. And about halfway through the drive, I actually said out loud to nobody, I'm just giving them until I get to the parking lot of Sam's, and that's it, they're out of luck. And as soon as I said that, I thought to myself, wow, if it was me in the situation and I had pulled something like leaving my headlights on, and somebody, you know, alerted me to that before it became a problem, before I had a dead car battery, I would be really appreciative. But if I knew somebody knew about that and didn't do anything about it, well, I would kind of think that person they wouldn't be my favorite person at the moment, let's put it that way. And this phrase came into my brain as I'm thinking this, that was, what is the limit to your charity? You know, What is the limit to the extent, what is the extent to which you are willing to treat somebody as you would like to be treated, or to do the right thing? Now, when I say charity, I'm not talking about charitable contributions. So we all have our limits with that, particularly in this very difficult financial season of the pandemic. You can only give what you have, and there are limits to that. When I say charity, I'm talking theological charity, the golden rule, do unto others. As we approach Lent, I think that's a good thing to think about. We all do good things. We all do those things which certainly are worthy of noting. But what's the limit? What was the cost to us? Are we willing to do those things so long as it absolutely does not inconvenience us in the least, even though it may be a make or break for that person's day or week or month or year or life? What are the motivations behind our charity? And maybe we can spend some time this Lent, rather than giving up cookies, as Father Mark mentioned in Cranberry this weekend, which I loved. That was a great talk, Father Mark. But rather than do that, maybe one of the things we can look at is what are our motivations for doing things, and what are our limits? This is Will. I told you he'd be around. Say hi to the people. Hi, go do your thing. Okay. What are our limits? What are our motivations? How far are we willing to go? How much are we willing to be inconvenienced? How much are we willing to sacrifice to do the right thing? What is the weight of the cross that we are willing to carry for others? And then we remind ourselves the weight, the inconvenience, the torture that the Lord experienced for us. And remember his command to us, as I have done for you, so you must do for each other. Just a couple practical things about Lent. I just want to remind you, and I'm sure all of the priests reminded you if you were at Mass this weekend, that the imposition of ashes is happening by sprinkling this year and not by tracing a cross on your forehead. This will be done in silence, and you need to know how to do this. I'm 6 foot, maybe a little more with dress shoes on, and I think I'm the second tallest next to Father DJ, and you have to make it so that whoever is imposing ashes on you and sprinkling ashes, that they can reach you. So when you approach the minister imposing ashes, you're going to need to bow. And this is different than the communion bow. The communion bow is an up and down. This is a down and hold, okay? And they will sprinkle the ashes in silence. You may say to yourself, well, how do we know when to go back up and leave? Well, it's easy. They're going to be holding a container here, which you're going to be able to see with yourself bowed. So when you see the hand come back down to the bowl, you've been ashed. You're done. Okay? It's going to be a little sprinkle. It's not going to be a tablespoon or a shovel. It's a little sprinkle. And keep in mind, so many people, I mentioned this in my last reflection, so many people listen to the Gospel of Ash Wednesday that basically says, when you do all these penances, do them in secret, and your Father in heaven, who sees in secret, will see you and repay you. And we walk out of church with these black badges of honor on our forehead that anybody can see. And how many times have you wondered, or if somebody asked you, well, the Gospel says we're supposed to do all that in secret. Well, this year we are. So keep that in mind. One of the things that Father Phil has charged our parish grouping music and liturgical ministry to do is to try to come together as much as possible in the celebration of the liturgy. And the music ministers meet once a month. Now it looks like we're going to be meeting a little more than that, to just try to see how we can share as much in common as possible in terms of music. We did that for Lent, and a lot of the hymns, not all of them, but a lot of the hymns that you hear in one church on a Sunday, you're going to hear in all three churches. But I want to talk to you just very briefly on what the gathering rite is going to look like in all three churches for Lent and why it's going to look that way. It's going to be very different than your average Sunday. That's a good thing. That's what we want. We meaning the pastoral staffs and the liturgical staffs and the clergy team. You should be able to walk into a church during a special season and immediately, with every sense, taste, see, touch, smell, hear, this is different. So the first thing you're going to notice is there is no procession. You know, processions are joyful things. It's like a parade, really. Processions are to be joyful. And this is a season where we're not spending all 40 days of Lent sorrowful and in tears, but there is, I think the best way to describe the aura of the season is there is an air of sobriety. There's an air of starkness to what we're doing. And so we don't have the joy of this great procession, you know, nobly marching down the aisle and the grandeur of all of that. We do away with that. The priests and whoever else will be ministering at the liturgy, a couple minutes before the liturgy, will simply just take their seats in the sanctuary. The priest may even vest at the chair, and they will just be seated until the time to begin the liturgy begins, and then all will just very simply rise. And in all three parishes, we will sing the same antiphon throughout all of the Sundays of Lent. Maybe not so much Ash Wednesday, but all of the Sundays of Lent, we will begin by singing the same antiphon 3 times. And the words to that antiphon are so beautiful. Turn, turn to the living God, the God of healing and comfort. And with delight, God will turn to you. With delight, God will turn to you. Then we'll begin with the sign of the cross as usual. The priest will give the normal clergy greeting, the Lord be with you. And he may say a word or two about the Mass, but he'll ask us to call to mind our sins, and then either the presider or the deacon, if he happens to be there, will invite the entire congregation to kneel. Lent is a penitential season, and one of the ways we accentuate that is through a penitential posture. So we will kneel, and then we will sing the Kyrie, the Lord have mercy. And then we rise for the opening prayer. That gathering rite is happening in all three parishes all the same way. It's a sign that we are ever further deepening our unity by coming together and what we do the most, that is the most important, celebrate the Eucharist. We are now beginning to do that in the same way. We have unity in how we do the most important thing that we can do as a parish, celebrating the Eucharist. It incidentally is another reason for taking away that gathering procession, is so that that penitential act can be further highlighted, since it is a penitential season. So we're going to be doing that in all three of the parishes of the parish grouping. You know the procedure for ashes. Bow. When you see the hand come down, that's your cue to skedaddle. And remember, if that's something that you're just not cool with, the ashes in the hair thing, I get it, and that's fine. Ashes are not a sacrament. They are not mandatory. It is entirely optional. Do we wish we could stay with our own customs? Of course we do. But this is the best that we can do this year. And perhaps even if it's something that you don't want to do, perhaps something that you participate in and do anyway, while you offer the prayer, Lord, may this all come to an end soon. But we're doing the best we can with so many things these days. And incidentally, the directives on how to do this, it's not something that I made up, any of the music or liturgy directors made up. It's nothing that Father Phil or the priests made up. This is from the Vatican's Congregation for Divine Worship in the Discipline of the Sacraments. It's the body that controls how the sacraments are celebrated. So this wasn't even a local bishop decision. So this is what we are doing this year. I hope that in the craziness of all of this, that you are all still able to find some deep meaning and strength and peace for your Lenten journey. God bless you all. God bless the cities of God. Thank you.